Yeah, always a rather odd day, isn't it, Liz, at these party conferences. When I say that, I mean that because clearly the story is elsewhere in the country, in the sense that clearly the focus is on that statement from the Bank of England and the response from the Treasury. But Labour, you're right, have been trying to set out their stall here for what they would do to manage the economy. We heard from Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, earlier on, in which she talked about how the government, she would argue, has lost credibility, they're losing confidence and they're out of control, and that Labour is actually the party to be trusted with when it comes to economic management. They argue that actually that fight is now being won with the general public, that the public will look at what's happening this week, they'll look at the Conservative Party, they'll look at Labour, and they will decide that Labour are the best people to manage the economy in the way forward. Now, I'll have to say whether that's true in the polls, but Labour clearly are cementing the lead, given what has happened over the last week or so. All I would add is that there is a sense of confidence here at the Labour Party that I have not sensed, and I've been going to Labour Party conferences for years and years and years. There is a hope, maybe even an expectation, that they will have got a pretty good shot at the next general election. Now, some might accuse them of being overconfident. Clearly the government are arguing today that these are merely just jitters in the market, that they have got a plan, that it will work. But Labour are starting to flesh out what they would do if they did get into government. For example, that announcement that they would reinstate the 45p income tax threshold that obviously the government announced it would abolish, that they would return that cap on bankers' bonuses, though they would keep the tax cuts for those on lower incomes at the lower end of the scale. So there is a sense that Labour are plotting this path, and there is a sense that clearly they feel they are winning the argument with the public. The big question is this merely what we're seeing with the pound sterling, with the rising cost of borrowing? Is this a temporary blip that the government will get over, that they will show that they are in control, or could this really effectively actually lead people to question the government's economic management of the economy? And if so, always remember the mantra, as we say in politics, that, you know what, rarely oppositions win elections, governments tend to lose them.
We're going to discuss all of that with my panel in a minute, actually, Darren, so it's great for you to set it out in that way. Who is speaking tomorrow? What have we got to look forward to in the next sort of couple of days? Who are going to be the big names setting out their particular ambition for the party?
Well, it must be said, we've just heard from Gary Neville, who's obviously a big Labour supporter, former Manchester United star, and he's been here at Labour Party conference this afternoon talking alongside Keir Starmer. He was asked about Liz Truss and her management of the economy. He said he's tanked the pound lower than my reputation in Liverpool. Of course, we are in Liverpool. He's a former Manchester United player. The big moment, though, Liz, will be tomorrow when we hear from Keir Starmer himself. He's going to make his keynote speech tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Haven't really got a sense of what he's going to say, though we are expecting him to make kind of two big key kind of themes or messages to come through. One is tackling the cost of living crisis, particularly around energy. At the moment, Labour have only committed themselves to that price freeze for 6 months. The Conservative government, of course, have done that for 2 years, so I expect Labour will go further on that. And also, I think he's undoubtedly going to have to address what's happened to the economy over the last couple of weeks or so. But at the end of the day, I also always argue that, you know, we're probably still 2 years out from an election, 18 months, 2 years, that it's not really the role of the opposition in many ways to flesh out lots and lots of detail about the policies they would implement in government. Often when they do that, actually, governments just steal the best ones and claim them as their own. But what Keir Starmer needs to do tomorrow, and frankly we are getting to that stage, is set out a narrative for how he would govern Britain. What would Labour do different in office from the Conservative Party? And we'll get a lot more of that tomorrow along the lines of essentially they will be on the side of lower and middle income earners. Their argument, of course, the Labour's argument, is that the government is showing that they're on the side of the wealthy.